Hunting for that magical genie with piles of cash? Join Candace and her guests as they uncover financial secrets, have a laugh at past mistakes, and savor financial rebounds. Thank you for listening. Let's dive in and do something today that your future self will thank you for.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Money Flow Genie podcast. I am so excited to have here as a guest to share her experience and financial journey, freedom, everything that she has to share with us is someone that I've known for a little while now, is Chutima Barrios. Did I get your name? I want to make sure I pronounced it correctly.
Yes, you did it right.
Excellent. Okay. So here on the podcast, first of all, before we dive into everything, because I'm so excited about hearing your story, because it's just so touching and fabulous that I think a lot of our listeners could listen to. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself before everyone can relate, and we can then go on with the show?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me on the show. So yeah, my name is Chutima Barrios. I live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I came to the US in 2013. So this is my 11 years in the US. I came here to do my master's degree, and I bring with me my financial experience. I did like investments before, and I transitioned to do corporate finance with the US firms after graduation. But then I realized that my W-2 income will not lead me to the financial freedom that I look for. So I started looking into investment opportunities, like how can I invest? What should I invest in the US? And long story short, my husband encouraged me to do real estate investment, and I jumped onto it, but not right away because I still had fear. I never did real estate investments before. I know how to do stock investments. So it took a bit of time to study about the real estate. And before I knew it, my husband and I started doing real estate investment as a hobby. So we purchased property, become landlord, and we grew our portfolio while he and I were still W-2 employees. And currently we own about 30 apartment units in Philadelphia with our own capital. And then I now have my own company that's called Rentlow Capital, where I bring in investors to co-invest with us in the multifamily or any other assets class in real estate industry. We have 2 young kids together. My daughter just celebrated her 8th years old birthday 2 weeks ago. So that was fun. And then my little one is 5 years old. So both of them keep us busy. I also do yoga or go to swim, go to the gym to clear my mind as part of my wellness. Yeah, so that's about me.
Well, first of all, I just have to say, to have those are young kids, and the time frame that you've come here and you have those children, you were doing all of this while really having to be, anytime you're a mom, you have to be a full-time mom, but that's a really demanding time on your time. And to be able to achieve what you did in that short period of time, wow, I can't wait to listen to the trials and tribulations of doing that. Before we dive in, I want to start with what we call the self-praise showcase, where our guests, we hold for our guests and also to be a power example in society. It's shamed upon to boast about yourself, which I think is wrong, because we can only compare ourselves to know where we have gone. And if we're not able to share about how we feel about something that we've accomplished, whether it's a little thing or a big thing, then we don't feel like we've really grown, and we start comparing ourselves to others. So I want to hold the space for you and have the listeners hold the space for you, as well as encouraging them to also do this for themselves. So what do you have that you're really proud of yourself for that you want to share with us?
Yeah, I am very determined, and I would say I'm ambitious as well. That's why I came from Thailand to the US, right, to pursue my master's degree. And I think my very proud achievement is how, together with my husband, we are able to provide to our children. We send them to a good school. We have enough for them so that they can grow themselves. And I have a lot of my personal core value is to be able to provide to the family.
Mhm.
So seeing my kids enjoying their school environment, learning academically and improve themselves, socially, emotionally, that's really rewarding to me. So this summer, we didn't do anything special, as in we didn't make a big trip to overseas or things like other families would do, but we did an entrepreneurship project together. So I encourage my daughter, because she's a little older, she's understand more, to start entrepreneurship journey. And with her, we participated at a local market, which only kids are allowed to be the vendors, like to be at the tent and engage conversations
Oh
with the
my gosh,
customers.
that's
Like,
so great.
yeah, so parents were there with them, but we were not allowed to talk. Yes, yeah. So she drew her design. Like she was thinking, so what should I do? Da 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 da. And I was like, yeah, you love art, so maybe we can do something about art. And we brainstorm our ideas. What can we do with the arts? We ended up, at least she's agreed that okay, she's gonna do a shirt, and she designed the shirt. Yeah, so that's her product, her first product that she sold to customers.
Wow.
Yes, and I was super impressed and proud of her when I saw her engage conversations with the customers at the market.
And in turn, therefore, you get to see all that you've been working to do to work with your children, to provide these values, to teach them. You get to see that they've been listening.
They've been listening, yes,
They've
and
been sometimes even when you are not the boss of me, it comes about. But
yeah,
wow, that must have been just an amazing shining moment to watch, to just sit back and
yeah. She had fear, like she's not a social person. She's anxious to talk to stranger. That's her nature, right?
Mhm.
So seeing her overcome fear
Yeah.
and engage conversations with the customers, that's just wow, mind blown for me.
Oh my gosh. And I just have to just add to what a fantastic venue too. Were there a lot of children participating in this? Is it a
I
large
think,
venue?
yeah, there were about 15 tents. Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. This is so great. I like the combination of it's your shining moment, but it's also sharing that shining moment
Yeah.
that of watching your daughter as well. That's what this is all about. That's
Yeah.
yeah, just for myself in what it makes reminds me of. I had someone asked me a little while ago, it's like, why are you doing this podcast? What is the point? What are you getting out of it? And it is exactly what you just experienced, is that I've learned so much over the years that I want to be able to share this so other people can learn from my mistakes or have insight that maybe will open a door for them in whatever it is their journey is. And it's just, sometimes it's just that one split second moment that you hear someone share. Your daughter could also have had the ripple effect of having someone come up with a younger child and connecting with your daughter and watching her and remembering that moment and not sharing that with anyone, but then having ideas come forth and then pursuing them. Oh my gosh, that's just beautiful. Gives me chill bumps. It's so great. Fabulous. Oh my
Yeah.
God. Thank you so much for sharing that. And that was a very, it's not, this is, and the other thing that I really love about this particular showcase moment that you shared is that it's not about the material things. It's really not. And that's one of the things when I first started thinking about money on my journey was I was just focused on the money. And I didn't realize that there's so much that is the building foundation internally in our heads and our hearts before we get to that point. And it makes it, you can make money quickly if you do it in a way that maybe not be an ethical choice,
Mhm.
yet it still has to sustain itself. And in order to do that, you really have to move forward in making a plan that's something that you love and you want to work with. And that's how I found that the journey of money has come along. For me, at least.
Yeah.
I love the fact it was something that we have in common, which I didn't even know until you were talking about. I started out in my real estate is also my prime asset that I invest in. And the thing that I found humorous when I reflected back, it's only been in the past, I think going on 6 years, have I really made it an official business, like with an LLC, et cetera. Because I too, since 1997, it's been a hobby for me. And what a funny thing when you think about hobbies, you don't think about real estate as being a hobby. And you're the only other person so far I've met that did it as a hobby.
Yeah, like we scroll through, we browse internet on Zillow.com instead of TikTok.
Exactly. Yeah. It's careful how you use your time. You become what you surround yourself with. So there you go. Of course, that's excellent. So tell me, I'm always fascinated being American born. I see so many people come into this country and take advantage of what we have here that's so beautiful about America and succeed. From my experience of just what I observed, much more successful faster than American born. And that's always fascinated me. So if you could let's dive into your story about coming here, and I just really would love to hear that.
Yeah, so I was born in Thailand, right? And my family background, gotta go back to my grandparents' generation. They migrated from China to Thailand. So that was like 80 years or 100 years ago. And think about it, that long time ago, the economic conditions, social development conditions were far less from what in today's, whether you see it from internet or you experience it yourself.
Absolutely.
My grandparents then opened up a noodle shop, like you saw on Chinatown here, right? A little store. And my dad, he had to leave school after his sixth grade to work at the noodle shop with his parents. So no more further education. And later, his brothers, his siblings, and him went to work with a jewelry store as a worker, right? Helping them run errands and all things that they could do. Before they knew it, they became a jewelry store owner.
Wow.
Together. Yeah, so that's really, I'm impressed with my dad's story and my uncles too. Yeah, like together how they thrive in that environment. And on the other side, my mom, back in the day, her parents didn't encourage her to go to do higher education either. After she graduated from high school, her mom was like, no, you don't have to do college degree, you don't have to earn bachelor degree, just go work. But somehow my mom had different perspectives. She wanted to do bachelor, she wanted to earn a degree, so she sneaked away and found a free college program that she can do. But it was a program that, I mean, to be honest, when she graduated, it didn't make money for her because it's free too. Yeah, but anyway, after my mom and my dad met and they have us, myself, my siblings, with that experience of growing up, right? The difficulty that they experience, they brought us up with the scarcity mindset because they don't want us to overspend. They have been working so hard to earn, to have enough saving, right? To improve their life and ourselves. One of the best thing, or at least to me, is that, or say, I think one of the biggest investments that they did for us is to send us to private school. So even though they're like, oh, we don't have a lot, don't buy toys, and we own used cars, like old cars, stuff like that, they send us to private school, which costs a lot of money comparing to what they have. But because they want us to be in a good environment, Yeah, which I'm grateful for, but it also made me had this kind of frustration, especially when I go to school and I have my friends come from diverse backgrounds as well. I can see
Mhm,
friends that came from like modest family background like me, or
mhm.
friends that came from more comfortable background. And
Right.
then I compared myself to those who have more of like, why can't I have these toys, this beautiful
Yes.
pencil box and everything?
Yeah.
So that I think that had planted the seed for me to seek financial freedom.
Mm.
And I became like a nerd. So I did well in school. I loved reading. And I found this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. Wow,
Mhm.
it's like global. This book was sold globally, which resonated with me so much about the investments concept.
Yeah.
So I chose to do finance for my undergrad and then come here to the US. But yeah, so my picture, my imagination when I decided to leave my job in Thailand, which was paying pretty well, to do master degree, an MBA degree, because I wanted to graduate and then have like six-figure digits, like $100,000 of
Mhm.
salary. And I was like, okay, if I can, even though I look at it as an investment, I didn't have all of, at the time, like 10 years ago, it was like about $6 million to complete the 2-year program. I
Mm.
didn't have all those money. So I took some of my money that I have for accommodation and I decided to do student loan. So after graduated, I look at my salary, which is okay, but then my bank account, I had just $3,000, $5,000 left comparing to the income of like 100K, right?
Mhm.
So what's going on here? First is tax, right? As a W-2, you can do very little on saving taxes. And they
Yeah.
don't care you have loan or not.
Yes.
Whatever
Yeah.
other obligation you have in life, right? You got to pay tax. That's one thing. Another thing is to pay down student loan.
Yeah.
I try to pay down as fast as I could. So I
Mhm.
put a lot of my income towards the loan. And again, I was like, wow, this is so insecure to have like just 5,000 in a bank account. And not to mention, I didn't have to pay mortgage because I lived with my now husband. I was like, what if one day, like my financial journey or my life, like God forbid, things
Mhm.
happen to me? What am I going to do with $5,000?
Yeah. Yeah.
So again, it made me like, oh, I got to do something different now. Of course, I had a choice to go back to Thailand, but at the time, I think I was settled with having a family here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I look into like investment options. Yeah, the
Mhm.
first thing I did was stock market because it was easy, something I knew, but I can do just so much. Like comparing, like if I have 5,000 in bank account, how much would I put into stock market? 1,000 at most, right? I don't want to put
Yeah.
all of my savings, and therefore I don't really get returns or at least cash flow. Definitely, I didn't get cash flow from the stock market. It's
Right.
just capital gain on the paper,
Mhm.
right? So I'm like, oh, this doesn't answer my question or doesn't meet my need. So then my husband, yeah, at the same time, he's, yeah, you should do real estate investments. And he started like turning on podcasts to me. I'm like, oh, okay, we study together. Because I told him, like, I don't have a lot of cash. How can I invest in real estate? That's why we started looking into solutions together.
Great.
So we found like one of the solutions like was doing house hacking. We look into sub two, but we didn't do sub two. We thought it was too risky for us. With
Mhm.
us at the time, I already had my daughter, right, was a baby.
Mhm.
So yeah. Anyway, it these are like my drive to do more, to change myself, to self-educate more. Even though like I had master degree, doesn't mean that I know how to do real estate investment. I still have to keep learning. And like having theory from the book is different from executing in real life.
Oh, yes, isn't it? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I have this financial concept, what is the IRR, like how to look at what is the cap rate. I understand all the financial term, all the jargons, but to do it in real life is so different. Yeah.
Wow. Well, a couple of things I want to touch back on. Did I understand you correctly saying that your education was $6 million, or did I hear that wrong?
Yes. 2 years program, including accommodation, and then the program has like overseas trip to go with your classmates and all that. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's intense.
Yeah.
And to be able to, the average person, when you think getting out of college, you think $100,000 a year that you're like rolling in the dough. But
Yeah.
when you get that first paycheck and just look at the quantity that actually hits your bank account after taxes, it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah.
For sure. Wow, what a journey. What a journey.
Yeah. You know
So
what? Can you give me a second? Let me double check. Maybe I use the wrong unit.
was it 600,000?
Yes, it might be.
Yeah, yeah.
I
It
was
sounds like
thinking
it would
in
be
Thai.
600. But no, that's why I wanted to double check. But 600,000 would seem,
I think I think it probably would be $2 million. I think I was, or you know what? No, 600,000. I'm sorry. Can you cut this off?
I think it's good to leave this in because
Yeah.
the reason that I say this, Shatima, is that even someone as successful as you can
Yeah.
make a simple statement that could be confusing or misquoted because English is not your first language.
Yes.
And
I
it's
think it was,
okay not to be perfect. If it's okay,
yeah.
leave this in.
Yeah. Okay. It was 6 million baht. It was about like $200,000. That's the tuition. That's before
Mhm.
the accommodation and other expenses. Yeah,
Wow.
I think I stopped using the baht term.
Yeah.
Everything's in dollars now. So I'm like, oh, $6 million. But I remember 6 million for sure. That's a big number.
Yeah. But and this is just perfect. This is the organicness that I want to have guests share, is that moving through this, even talking about stuff, we can get confused, but then get right back on track. Because we are working with money. It's like numbers, commas, where are we? In the big scheme of things, it doesn't matter because $1 and $1,000,000, the only difference between those is commas and zeros afterwards. And when you go to make that extra dollar, this pretty much the same amount of work. It's just
Yeah.
a different, whatever avenue, it doesn't matter. You still have to put the same amount of work and effort in it. And you're going to get confused. But I just want to say, all right, first of all, I have a really hard time the way my brain operates. I cannot learn a second language. I really, so I just commend you for being able to do what you're doing here. And it's just amazing. I found it to be very inspiring. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Now, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, that book has been something, I read that book because everyone shared about it. And I was like, okay, yeah, this makes sense. But I was hungry for more. And then I ended up finding, because I wanted like the how-to part. Like, all right, I get the concept, but where's the how-to? And then I found that his book, Cash Flow Quadrant, was the one that I really started to understand the dynamics of money and how it worked. So I'll have these also in the show notes for people to listen to as well. So that not to listen to, but to actually to find these resources, because I think it's a really good either read or they're also both. I listen to books on Audible. So they're easy listens as well. Wow. The other thing I wanted to comment on, how wonderful it was to have your husband be supportive of you doing this venture,
Yeah.
because that doesn't always happen in a relationship. And that he got you podcasts to listen to. Do you remember the podcasts that you were listening to help you?
He introduced me to Rod Khleif,
Mhm,
who I never heard of before.
mhm.
And then we later learn about him and yeah, take courses with him. Yeah.
Which is how we met.
Yep.
Which is how we met. That was great. Great. Yeah, I have to say that his program really gives you a tremendous amount of content to be able to move forward. And like you said, you can have all of the data and all of the content in the world, but it's the actual experience of which that you get the richness, and then you get the whole nuances as to how to move forward, and allows you to step out of that fear. Like your daughter, once she got into that booth,
Yeah.
and she probably had the first initial reaction was like, ah, but I think probably went into the flow once she started doing it.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, wow. One thing you mentioned that when you looked into subject to, which for those who are not interested, not informed about what that means, it just is you're buying someone's home from them and taking over their mortgage. It's staying in that person's name, and you're just taking over the payments. So,
Correct.
and that's, you have to negotiate with the person that owns the property to and go into contract. And it's a very legal process to do. But could you touch on to why you felt that was too risky in case someone is looking into that and then hearing this podcast?
Yeah, I understand it's legal, you can do it, and I heard people had done it successfully. Yeah, but I think for us, when we look at, of course, we had the contract, but the title ownership stay with the owner, right? So we're taking the liability of paying the mortgages, and we just never knew like how things can pan out, like with the seller. Yeah, with us having little kid already, we better go towards the safer path,
Mhm.
like more straightforward, put it that way. I think subject to is like a creative way.
It is. It is a
Yeah.
creative way to be able to own. Now, my understanding, so this is interesting. My understanding was that there is a way that you could have a closing, and I'm not sure what the contract is, so I won't put any information out. But it's almost like maybe even a contract for deed where you actually have a closing and an agreement. But again, yeah, the title is still holds. And if it does
Mhm.
transfer, then there is the fear that because most banks, their mortgages state that if you have the loan is due at the time of sale. So that if you do close and change ownership title, then therefore it's a possibility that the mortgage company could say, hey, it's time for you to
Mhm.
pay up this loan because we had this loan with the person that signed the original loan papers. So it is something I just want to throw out there to listeners to please get a mentor to help you with this who's been doing this for a long time. Because you don't want to get caught up, like you're saying, in something that's risky and lose your money. Any investment is a risk, but you definitely want, if you're entering something like that's a very complex legal
Mhm.
issue like that, you really want to have somebody to guide you through those little nuances
Yeah.
that could mean a win or a big lose.
Right. Right. Yes.
Well, we don't want to lose, but unfortunately, sometimes we do have little trips along the way and missteps. But anyhow, so when you started into your single family journey, tell me what it was like and how you ended up purchasing your first home. Was it your first residence that you live in, or was it, we said house hacking, which is like having roommates basically pay your bills. In
Yeah.
in
I
my era, that's what it's called. Uh,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I still call it house hacking, and that's what I did too. But it was through the multi-units, a quadplex building.
Oh,
So
so everyone
we,
had their separate units. It wasn't like
yes,
renting out a room. Got it.
yeah. So we have our own entrance, access, everything. I did the 203K FHA loan.
Mhm.
It was a full gut rehab building. So we bought it at $325,000 and
Mhm.
then put in, not really put in, but like the renovation cost was about 350. So total like 670 total costs, right? So we were able to put towards down payment and like with the closing and everything, I think out of pocket was about close to 40,000.
Mhm.
Yeah. And the building was appraised at 750,000. So that was wow. I was able to borrow against my 401k
Mhm.
to put towards the down payment so I can still save my cash. So I have another source of money to put towards the investment. And after the building was completed, like the renovation was done, we rented out. We have 3 tenants who were helping and are still helping us pay the mortgage and taxes, insurance, auto building expenses. So we live in our first home for free.
Wow, which allowed you to, your $5,000 bank account probably started to increase because you weren't paying mortgage payments anymore.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, yeah. I love the fact that, well, one, a lot of people don't understand that you can actually borrow off of your 401k or your IRA and make investments and allow your money to grow in the 401k at the same time.
Yeah, this one is the traditional 401k that was still with my employer, but you are able to borrow against your own 401k. And in this case, it was towards my primary home, not an investment.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And then I pay back to my own 401k with the
Right.
interest
Yes.
throughout my payroll deduction.
Mm-hmm.
So I pay myself an interest.
So you pay, so your company would allow, this was like a program within your company that you could do this loan.
I think and this is different from, I think you were thinking about the self-directed IRA,
Yes,
but
yes.
yeah, this is different from that. So this is the traditional 401k that any W-2 employee would have with their company, with their
Right.
employer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I understand that this is common or things that the traditional 401k allow you to do.
Uh-huh.
Because when I gone through the process, the paperwork, it asked me what was this the withdrawal for, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I checked primary home, but I think there was like medical expenses, something about life event
Mm-hmm.
that you check, and then you can borrow against that retirement savings. But of course, you got to be active employees so that future payrolls will deduct your payment and pay back to your own account.
So, yes, okay, so this is, I didn't know that you could, I was thinking it was self-directed. I was not aware. So this is great for the listeners out there that have 401k with your employer. You might want to check with them to see
Yeah.
if you can utilize that money to move yourself forward, because obviously listening here with Shatima, that we have this, look how it projection of your life into today. And if that in itself right there,
Yeah. And I have
how
to
do you
say, like,
find money that you have and how can you utilize that money in a more
yeah,
effective way?
exactly. Yeah, you're right on. I was so impressed with the US capital market. This is not common in other countries to
Mm-hmm.
be able to borrow from your retirement account or like in a different account as well, like self-directed IRA. You can use it to invest in real estate or even, yeah, a lot of things that is available here in the US is not available somewhere else.
Oh, wow. Wow. See, this is, and what a beautiful thing. So then, so you went from that property and then how did you get your next one? How did you move forward from there?
Yeah, so the next one we did Burr. So we bought a small multi-units building. It could be duplex or triplex, but it was not habitable. So the sale price was low, like
Mm-hmm.
50K,
Mm-hmm.
around that price range. So no more than 100K, right? And we renovated. We use 0% credit card to buy materials, right? And then we use our cash to pay the labor.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so after you're done renovation, you rent it out, and then you can go to the bank to pull the equity out of that property,
Mm-hmm.
and you can repeat the process. So we
Right.
did the BRRRR like 4 or 5 times.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you, how long were you had to have tenants in that property to show that it was income producing before you could go and get a loan against it to pull some of that equity out. So how long did you have to have your tenants in there?
Yeah, so a traditional loan would be 6 months, but you can use the DSCR loan,
Mm-hmm.
which is like 1 or 2 months. That was the fastest one we could do.
Mm-hmm. And so explain to our listeners when you say what the differences of the DS.
So yeah, so usually and this apply to small multi-units, so 1 to 4 units, not the commercial one, 5 units and up.
Right.
When you do BRRRR that I mentioned, like buying, renovate, rent, refinance,
Mm-hmm.
um, the appraisal, the bank would look at it as a conventional mortgage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they would go out and do the appraisal value, and they would lend to you 70% based on the appraisal value, 70 to 80%. And it's based on appraisal value. But the DSCR loan it looks at the income from this building too. And it doesn't look at, they don't use our personal income to estimate the ability to pay. So the conventional loan, they look at our credit score, our income. Yeah, there is like the common list as if you were buying your primary home. But the DSCR, if you have lower income or stuff like that, the bank will look at it from the property ability to generate income and how much it would cover the debt service.
And then where's the equity percentage that you get to loan out from when you're using that type of loan?
Yeah, so that will depend on the payment. So I think they just do their own calculation of, okay, if this building is going to get 30,000 of rental income a year, and they probably apply expenses percent ratio and estimated the net operating income from that property, right? So how much is that? And then based on that one, if the lender want one time the DSCR ratio, so they do backward calculation and translate into the loan amount.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Wow. And
Yeah.
did you go to a loan broker or did you go to a local bank for that?
I went to a loan broker for the DSCR.
Yeah, because I was going to say that it seems like you would definitely need to have a broker that has different lending platforms to choose from to offer you the best for that particular product. I think that's such a wonderful way to be able to get money out of a home because particularly, an investment property, because if they were to just go by your personal income, every time they take a credit check, that it's chipping at your credit. So your credit goes down whenever you apply for a loan. And then the credit score then therefore is going to affect the interest rate that you get. And then also on top of that, it's if you already have another house and then you're using the traditional loan, then they're going to be saying, okay, if you don't have tenants, can your income cover that loan and this one? So it really going the other avenue through a broker, I think is a really great idea to go in that path so that you have more options, where these are the options that true real estate investors use. Because if it was just the traditional way, when you're 4 units and down, unless you can increase your income, you stay stuck. And if you don't know about these particular programs that are out there that are made to encourage you to grow, that's the beauty of all of this, is the tax laws are written for businesses to grow.
Yes.
The tax laws are written for businesses to grow. And it doesn't mean that you have to be uber wealthy in order to take advantage of the tax laws. You just have to know where to go and some of the smart questions to ask. And sometimes you may not know the smart questions, so you ask the people that are in those spaces to give you those questions to ask and go in the right direction. Wow,
That's just a great
great.
advice. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God. We could talk forever on this for sure. I'm feeling like there's so much value that you have given our listeners in, well, one, just who you are and how you are in this world, and just the inspiration for mothers and then parents out there for their kids. I love the concept of not doing a family vacation, but teaching your kid and doing this like project, provided that your child really wants to do it, because otherwise it wouldn't be any fun at all. So I take it that your daughter did want to do this.
Yeah, she was interested. She always asked me, Mom, what do you do for work? Because I always work on computer. And I don't know how to explain it because I am not out there in a brick and mortar
Yeah.
place, like physical location, and to say I'm a nurse and this is what I do. I can
Right,
work on
right,
computer.
right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're just sitting home watching TikTok all day. Tell our listeners how they can get a hold of you, and we'll have that in the show notes, but in case listeners are ready with pen and paper to write things down.
Yeah, I do a lot of LinkedIn posts, more so daily posts, so you can see my content from there. And my account name is my personal name, Chutima Barrios, Chutima Barrios. And you can also reach me via email if you have any specific questions, chutima@rentrollcapital.com.
Beautiful. We'll have all that written down in the show notes so that people will be able to get a hold of you. I really enjoyed having you on the podcast, and I'm sure our listeners got a lot of information. You got a little bit of a how-to of the coaching in the single family world, as well as inspiration of just the courage that you have. You're a powerful woman, and it's really an honor to have you on this podcast.
Thank you so much. My pleasure to be on here.
Oh, thank you. So I want to thank everybody for listening. And I just want to say that remember that you are your own genie in a bottle. And so do something today that your future self will thank you for. And thank you all for listening. And we'll see you next time. Have a great day.
The info in this podcast is straight from our personal experiences. You alone possess the power to manifest your desires. You are the genie in the bottle, awaiting your command. So ask smart questions. We're not licensed financial pros, so be sure to consult with a licensed professional, attorney, or tax consultant.